together after what has been a crazy few years. I wanted my words to you today to convey not only gratitude, but admiration and support, because I do admire all of you. Through working with many of you over the years, watching firsthand how you interact not only with victims, but also the accused, I have learned so much as an attorney, but also as a person. Most importantly, I have learned that there is great value in serving your community. Many of you grew up in Kings County, and you know everyone. Through the course of your jobs, I know many of you have seen a friend who has lost their way, someone who has fallen to a life that had led them behind bars. And it is then that you have the frank conversations about leaving the abuser, about leaving the drugs, about leaving behind all the things that will end up killing them. Conversations about saving themselves. You as peace officers never forget about that person being a human. Your job requires you to listen to the voices of those who others will not. You help those people who don't want your help, and time again, they continue to put themselves in harm's way. Even when they don't listen, you continue to go back, to clean up the mess, to again encourage the broken, to fix themselves, and more often than we like to admit, when you go back, you're forced to see the consequences of those who do not listen. So every day, you all continue to work to fight the same battles, to try to save the same victims, and meet more battles and new victims day in and day out. And that is what makes me proud to work here. It is why I chose to make myself part of this community. I came to Kings County as a young attorney who wanted to be a prosecutor, not knowing what life would be like. My appointment to serve as a judge was a lifelong career achievement, but it also was the end of the greatest job I believe an attorney can ever have. We know this life takes a toll upon many of us. How many of you have seen victims who are the most vulnerable, who have been broken, look to you for help? And every day, you help. You provide them with strength, you provide them hope, you provide them a hero. You've had to learn what the term end of watch really means. For many of you, end of shift does not signal the end of your duty to protect. The pledge to protect the innocent never stops, and we feel the loss of those who never clock out of being a hero. Today, we remember the names of those officers who are not here with us. We remember Jonathan Diaz. He never stopped. Thank you, Diaz. This never-ending sense of duty takes a toll. There is a strain this life takes on all of you. We know we've lost those who have just seen too much and been through too much, and we remember them. We remember them every day. The names of those brothers who, although they may not be listed on this wall, they are in every way a hero to us. We remember Thomas Olson and Jonathan Johns. Thank you, Olson. Thank you, Johns. Only you know the many reasons you signed up for this profession. I'm sure that list is long. It may be to protect the victims who cannot protect themselves. It may be to make sure the law is upheld, or it may be to make sure justice is served. It's probably not to work for little pay and little things. Many times, the effect of leaving a call for service doesn't simply dissolve once the shift is over. Having to hear the worries of a child, victim, addict, survivor weighs heavy on the heart. You carry that burden with you. It doesn't leave, it doesn't disappear. It may fade, but it remains with you. Working in sexual assault for many years, I had heard the terms trauma response, secondary trauma, and compassion fatigue very often without really knowing how it affected me. And then I started to see it, to feel it. Some of us may have a very dark sense of humor. You've all been there. That one joke we make in fun of someone who doesn't work in this field, and that look of horror they give you. It's in that moment you realize, oh, this isn't normal for everyone else. We are at a time where we can no longer ignore the effects of this burden. In the past few years, we as a community have felt the loss of those whose burden may have been just too heavy. We've added those loss, those missing brothers in blue, to your burden. These officers were your brothers, partners, friends, and we do not forget them. To my officers standing here today, throughout your career, you've learned to adapt, you've learned to cope, you've learned to carry that burden day in and day out, because you have to. You don't just forget all the people you deal with every day. You remember their fear, their worries. You remember the child who was too scared to speak to you. You've developed resiliency because you had to. But here's the thing. Once we develop resiliency, it is not the end-all, cure-all. Like a perishable skill, you must continue to train to get better. Train every day to get stronger, to continue to carry the burden of this job that never stops. Like you train your body to be prepared for every situation you may come across, you must train your heart and your head to be prepared for every situation you deal with. Learn. All those situations, all those calls for service that you have been to, all those crap days, give you the opportunity to learn something. You learn compassion. You gain experience. You've gained a roadmap of how another situation like this will go the next time. I know all of you recall that first time that someone tried to pull a weapon on you. You know where you were. You know what the situation was. You know how they moved. You know what triggered that emergency response. And you know how you handled it. You know what you did right. You know what you did wrong. Maybe what someone else did wrong. And since then, you've never forgotten that experience. You have the training to continue handling and surviving that moment. But today, we remember we also need to be trained to continue carrying that burden. We need to train for resilience. To the cadets standing here, I want to talk to you about something we don't often think about when we start our careers and adult lives. The plan is to be successful. To be successful in your career, to be successful in your family, to be successful as an individual. You're going to be pulled in so many different directions. All those directions have so much pressure. One of those directions will fail. You will fail at some point in your life, you will fail at some aspect of your life at some point in your life, because that is life. And that is okay. Just like you train to be resilient and to be strong, train to be ready to readjust your focus when the time comes. Look at these officers standing here today. These are your future field training officers. These are the people who will train you throughout your career in law enforcement. That training goes beyond the academy. The things you do not learn in a book or a field training scenario. These people will be your lifeline. To the families of the officers sitting here today, we know you take on a burden as well. This is especially true as we look to the families of those who have lost their officer. And to all of you, please know, we, your community, are here for you. We are here for you because we love you. You are one of us, and we will be here for you. Please know that you are appreciated and supported, not only by me, but by every member of this community. I would be remiss if I did not mention the very recent and sudden loss of K-9 Blues. Thank you, Blues, for always being ready for action, for protecting our deputies, and for your years of service. As I end my time up here today, I want to mention that dealing with the loss of the men on this wall, remembering their sacrifices, and continuing to serve this community is the best way to honor each one. With every moment in which we step out to protect the public, to aid the victims, to simply be there when called upon, we remember why you represent the best of Kings County, and you continue to make us proud of this community each and every day. To the officers that we've lost, who we remember today, we thank you, we honor you, and we miss you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge DeMarais. The riderless horse signifies the loss of a proud and noble warrior. This ancient tradition can be traced back to the Roman Empire, when it was used to honor high-ranking fallen military officers. The warrior's horse was customarily led to the grave and buried with its master. The belief being that the master would be assured of having a suitable mount to ride in heaven. Horses are no longer sacrificed with masters. However, the custom of leading a riderless horse to the gravesite continues as a symbolic tribute of a fallen warrior. The ancient riderless horse ceremony did not include the boots being faced backwards in the stirrups. The inclusion of the boots facing backwards is symbolic for the fallen warriors looking back on his family and friends one last time. According to historical records, Abraham Lincoln was the first president of the United States honored with the inclusion of a riderless horse at his funeral. When his body was taken from the White House to lie at the state capitol rotunda, the casket was followed by the president's horse with his master's boots placed backwards. The tradition of the riderless horse is a powerful military symbol that is used to honor fallen warriors. We feel that it is appropriate to include the riderless horse here today as we honor our fallen heroes.